Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children follows 16-year-old Jacob, who, after a terrible tragedy, heads to an island off the coast of Wales to uncover the hidden secrets of his grandfather's past. Once on the island, Jacob searches through the remains of Miss Peregrine's home for orphans, and he comes to discover that the stories his grandfather told him years ago about the peculiar children may in fact not be tales of fiction. Okay, you guys, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children has been massively hyped on BookTube, so I was really worried that I would not like this book. I do think the book has a few minor flaws to it, but overall I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. For one thing, the story has a very fantastical premise to it, and there's a lot of kind of time looping going on. These fantastical elements involving the time looping was a bit overwhelming on occasion and kind of hard to keep track of, and I do think some of the world building was a bit inconsistent. I think the world building got a bit more complicated than what it needed to be. I also don't think some of the plot elements were kind of fleshed out and fully brought together. And a lot of plot elements I'm still kind of confused about, which once again kind of goes back to the world building being a bit inconsistent for me. I also wasn't quite sure how to shelve the book. I placed it in my historical fiction shelf, historical fiction being very loose for this book. It does take place in, modern day world, but when it gets to the time looping, Jacob is kind of going back and forth between the modern and to World War II in Wales. So that's kind of why I'm loosely putting it in historical fiction. So outside of those few little things that kind of frustrated me about the book, overall I really enjoyed it, and I really found Jacob to be a fantastic character. Of course, Jacob is an angst-ridden teenager, and so you get all this drama, obviously, and he has some issues. And a lot of his issues stem from something that happens at the beginning of the book that I won't spoil. And this thing that happens at the beginning basically sets up his whole journey for the rest of the novel, and sets up how he develops as an individual. Even though I liked Jacob a lot, I'm not going to say that I totally 100% agreed with a lot of his concluding decisions. If you want to know what it is in particular that I'm talking about, click on my Goodreads review for this book, and there's a little spoiler section. So if you want to read the spoiler, go read it there on my Goodreads account. I also really liked The Peculiar Children, which the title is named after, obviously. They were just so fun and cute, and they just had a really whimsical nature to them. I really adored Emma. She was just really spunky, and plus she could control fire. Plus, she has a very interesting history with Jacob's grandfather. But besides Emma, you also have all these other numerous characters. There's the invisible boy, Millard, the floating girl, Olive, the I can bring people back to life, Enoch, and a host of other children. The list just goes on and on and on. I will admit I got a bit confused with some of the kids and what their particular powers were. The main kids, obviously, I could remember. A lot of the sub-kids, I kind of kept getting them confused and who had what special ability. And kind of the negative about all the kids in general is that they're all kind of introduced all at once. Jacob, when he goes through his time loop and he meets all the kids, Miss Peregrine introduces them all, I believe, or someone introduces them all, and they're kind of just like, here's him, here's her, here's him, here's her, and it just keeps going. And Miss Peregrine herself, she was so fun. She's like this batty old lady. She's kind of like this strict school teacher. She's the one who enforces everything that goes on at the home. Plus, she knows all of the secrets, but she's also a very nurturing mother-like figure to all the kids. Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this book, pleasantly surprised with it, especially considering all the hype surrounding it. It will definitely make for a good movie. It almost seems tailor-made for Tim Burton. And another interesting thing about this book, I didn't do any research on it, but just from watching numerous other booktube videos on the book, apparently Ransom Riggs, found all of these pictures, which he places in the book. This book is just loaded with black and white photos of just weird images of kids. So apparently Ransom Riggs found all these photos, placed them in the book, and kind of mapped out his story according to all the pictures. And I really liked all these pictures. They're really cool, and some of them look photoshopped, but Ransom Riggs even says something somewhere in here about them maybe looking photoshopped. Yeah, I don't know what to think about the photos, but they're still cool photos, and some of them are kind of creepy. But yeah, when you start this novel, because you're kind of overwhelmed with all these really creepy photos, you almost think you're kind of getting into a horror-like book, especially because of the creepy cover. But I wouldn't say that this book was scary by any means. It was just very light scares. So if anything, I would consider it more of a mystery. And I really think both adults and younger readers can appreciate this book. Plus the writing, you guys, the writing was beautiful. I can't believe how beautiful the writing was. Just a lot of really powerful moments, and I think the dialogue was pretty believable. A lot of times if dialogue is not believable, it throws me out of the book pretty quick. But yeah, Ransom Riggs, the man can write. So that's it for my review, you guys. Have you read this book, or are you interested in reading it? Just let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you liked this book review, you may like these. Bye, guys.